All right. Hello, hello, hello. I can see the red bar moving. Let's see if you guys can hear me all right. Birds are like, yeah, we'll talk. Hope everybody had a good day today. We had a bit of movement today. Fun, exciting stuff. Sounds good here. All right, cool. Thanks, Sean. All right. So, interesting day today. Certain things moved, certain things collapsed, other things, moved a little bit, right? They moved a little bit, continuing some of the things that we've seen in the markets. Um, Biggest thing that I see today is obviously the yen got a little bit funky, right? Euro dollar didn't do much. Pound dollar really didn't do much. I mean, 14, but it's retracing now. Dollar Swiss, obviously moved a bit. Dollar yen got hammered, and then so did the pound yen. So pretty interesting. We had one gentleman today that was like S&P new high, but he was a little bit off. No, S&P had a good day today, but obviously not breaking an all-time high on that one. For me, it was really one and done today. I didn't really spend a ton of time looking at the markets. I had something set up from last night. It triggered. It was good, and that's kind of it for me. I just didn't see that much this entire week. Actually, looking at it, doing the kind of weekly summary report. It's not a huge week right now as far as news releases go, and I typically tend to like the volatility that's associated with those. So for me, it's kind of like we'll see what we got and go from there. I'm not going to really force too much this week, but yeah, obviously across the board. I mean, down 50 in the dollar Swiss is it's a decent day, right? Dollar CAD down 32, nothing really, right? Aussie dollar up 17, nothing. Euro pound down 9, which is nothing, and then pound yen down 170. So like I said, the yen was the big mover. The yen was basically the hammer today. Obviously, it crushed the dollar, but the dollar didn't do bad against the euro or really even the pound itself. But again, the yen just crushed the pound down as well. So yeah, it's nice when you can jump on that one pair that is just going crazy. That's pretty much it. So I mean, today you saw German industrial production was off by a little tiny bit. It's supposed to be down 16, was down 17.9, so nothing crazy there. ECB Prez spoke, didn't really provide much action, right? I mean, you can see there's really not much movement. A little bit of retracing going on. New Zealand number just came in. They didn't really give a forecast on that one, but it was obviously the business confidence is lower, which, not really necessarily surprising. So, I wouldn't see that as being a huge mover. As far as the news goes tonight, I mean, UK retailers face declining sales amid shutdown. Okay. Don't, tell us something we haven't already heard, or, haven't already heard before. Um, you know, this is interesting. I'm confident that a good solution will be found. Okay, sure. I mean, being confident is good. Yeah. I mean, when we actually see the actual resolution, then it will make more sense. Um, you know, the view of economic outlook still far below pre-pandemic readings. So okay, uh, NQ obviously hit a new high today, which is interesting. That is still continuing to push higher. Um, and again, I kind of have an idea of why. I mean, the NQ is associated with technology. The one thing that we've learned from this, I mean, people are still able to work. You have to work remotely. You need to rely on technology a little bit more. And we saw that. There were certain stocks that went absolutely crazy. Now, as people are going back to work, those same technology stocks are still going to be embraced going forward. So I think it is kind of bringing us into a new age. Maybe it's the age of the teleworker. I know that it's been a trend, I guess, over the last couple of years, but companies still like that level of control. But if it's not necessarily needed, eventually the cost stability of things will also kind of, I don't know, become introduced into the equation, for lack of a better word. So I do think that again, like in Maryland, it's if you can work at home, work at home is kind of what their recommendations are. And I know we're not the only one. There are there are other states as well that believe in the same thing. That if you can work from home, do it. And I think that will be going forward. And that's it. I love this. Economic activity has collapsed. Collapse is a big word. It's one of those big things that it's kind of when you talk about an economy or a business or even a marriage, the marriage has collapsed. It's like, woo, it's that bad, huh? I feel like that's quite a harsh word. Yeah, pretty crazy. Um, what is it? Who was that going on? Not as good here. He was off all right. Who was off? Wait, who was off? I'm confused. I said something, and you know, whoop, I'm getting attacked by Ernest is typing stuff, and I don't even know what he's talking about now. Leaving me hanging. Going into tomorrow, okay, basically there's no news. So I don't expect it to be another huge day tomorrow. Just, when one member of the MCP is speaking, it's not like that's the, head guy. Oh, yeah, the ES was an all-time high. Yeah. I was looking at that. I'm like, did I miss something? I'm like, did none of my alerts go off? Yeah. He kind of confused me on that one. I was like, wait, what? I saw the NQ did, and then when he said S&P, I was like, wait, S&P was a little bit farther down. What happened? Yeah, Ernest, when I saw it at first, I was like, what? And then I looked at the price chart. Or I looked at the actual just reading, not the chart, and I was like, did I miss something? What happened here? And then I saw that he had typed it again. Yeah, so pretty funny, right? Hey, simple mistake, maybe tomorrow it will, and maybe he knows something that we don't know, But like I said, tomorrow I don't see being a huge day either. For the most part, you're gonna see, kind of what we saw at the end of last week. Again, dollar weakness. Everything is more or less strong against the dollar. Everybody understands what's going on with the dollar right now. Last week was not a good week for the dollar index. Dixie got hammered pretty well, and again, today with not much movement. Again, we're not surprised that we're seeing more or less negativity across the board. Now the dollar Swiss is consolidating. Dollar yen is showing uptrend setup, but I'm really surprised that one is not anchor broken yet. That one got just crushed today. All right. And then dollar CAD to the downside. Canadian dollar obviously is bringing strength back in. So that is a dollar weakness based position. So for the most part, it's still the weak dollar kind of, story, which is not necessarily bad. It's kind of one of those things. It's weird. Larry Kudlow was always the big king dollar guy. He loves to talk about king dollar. He puts that branding on it because people like it a lot. But there is one thing to be said about a very weak dollar. One, our debt is not worth as much overseas when it's a weak dollar, right? Because we have to pay it back, but it's not worth as much. Number two, it's cheaper for countries to purchase things from the United States, right? We are more of an export country. And again, hasn't been mentioned yet, but at this stage, we are technically oil producers. We don't need to use oil from other countries. If the dollar continues to get weaker, it may actually get to a point versus other currencies where instead of buying from the Middle East or Russia, they could just buy it from the United States. Okay. And then look at the power that's going to have on an economic basis. No longer need to buy from, countries like OPEC and Russia. It's one of those hidden things that we don't hear a lot about. Look at the European basket. You can see it's more or less sideways. I mean, versus the dollar, the first three is kind of just Versus the Aussie New Zealand, we saw that one, and then we have the anchor break in the pound. But Euro pound was up or was down 12 pips today. So it's not really kind of, I would say, anything that was moving. So it's kind of hard. All right, go back in the cage. If you're going to be bitey, go back in the cage. Go ahead. All right, so the bird really, really wants to be on my shoulder tonight, but is being very grumpy. I'm like, here, grab the pen. But no, it does not want the pen. Come on, back on the cage. I had him out a little bit earlier today, and they were doing laps around the room. They were like, woo, we're out. And now they're like, no, we're not going in the cage. Just let us fly around the room all day. Although I did get scared. So I have a ceiling fan in here. It wasn't on, but the bird just kept trying to land on the ceiling fan, and it kept moving on them. I felt guilty because they kept falling off of it and then trying to fly again and then landed on it again, kept falling off the blades. Yeah, now they're like, no cage for us. We had freedom and we are good. I don't cut some people cut their birds' wings, I guess. It kind of keeps them more like docile. I let them fly. I don't know, maybe I'm lazy, but I let them fly. So if they get outside, I guess I'll never see them again. But for the most part, they stay. They they get really, really crazy after you let them out. And so yeah, one of them is angry right now. As far as the CAD basket goes, we're seeing kind of the same thing, right? I'd say it's more just consolidating than anything else. I mean, you're kind of, again, in the first four, the CAD's in a secondary position. You're seeing consolidation for the most part across all three. You're seeing a little bit in the pound CAD. Again, that's kind of an interesting pair right now. Aussie CAD, you're seeing, a little bit of an anchor break, kind of pulling back right now. And again, when you slide into those CADs in the first position, you're seeing nothing but consolidation in the Swiss as well again. Obviously, the CAD yen on the 4 hour and the 1 hour is down. That was one of those positions that, again, we don't typically look at that one, but, kind of an interesting position today, again, going against the yen. So again, CAD, I wouldn't say is the driving force right now. Aussie's still doing quite well. I mean, it's considered bullish, although on all the lower time frames, it is down right now. It is pulling back. But that's not to say that Aussie still, is not continuing to rise. So it's going up and it's kind of pecking through levels. It is kind of still up at that daily zone, right? But it's fine. It finally got there, and now it's kind of, again, it's starting to kind of, it's actually painted red right now on the daily. It's one of those things that we were so close, like you would expect it to get sucked up to that level. Question is, will it continue to push a little bit higher? Again, it is pulling back right now, but the question is this a pullback or, what is this? We had some positions set up for when it finally did crash because the ascent has been so high, but it's not there yet. But it is in supply, which is a good thing. We're seeing that across a couple different pairs. Aussie yen has already really more or less started the turn, and again on the daily, it's 2 days worth of red now from that peak. So, that's starting to pull back, and that's kind of the telltale sign that, hey, listen, the first one is already flipped. Let's see if the second one goes in short order. Now, again, one's versus the dollar, one's versus the yen. Slightly different there, right? Looking at the pound basket. So, the pound would be interesting. You don't see anything up there right now, but last week what we kept hearing was, he's talking about economic collapse here. We kept hearing all these things, all this news last week about Brexit, about how nothing good was coming of it, but they were still confident, right? But nothing good was coming of it. But yet all we saw was pound strength, strength, strength. So it appeared that the market really liked the idea of them not coming to agreement. Yeah, but you're not hearing anything right now. So I don't know. Kind of be interesting to see how this one kind of folds out. I mean, all the pound pairs, again, if you've been watching this one, we have had a flip on the pound pairs. Kind of the way it had sent it, the push that it had last week is now more or less, I'd say more or less evaporated. Obviously the pound yen is pushed back down again. You're seeing, kind of in the near term, we had it down and then kind of a bounce back up again in the pound dollar. Even look at that chart. To me, that one looks like it's getting to a situation where it's kind of like, is it going to push much higher? Is it getting close? And it appears that it is. There's a little bit of a level above it. It's not at the extreme range of the curve yet, but it is approaching a wick over wick. And based off of kind of what we've seen, kind of the push, it looks like it'd be due for a flip, even versus the dollar. So pound's an interesting position as well. So, as far as some of these setups, again, these are on the charts. We'll be able to see them when they go over there. But overall, it looks like a standard Monday. Again, like I said, a lot of pullbacks. Like over here in the Aussies, the pounds were interesting. The CAD's kind of getting flat. The euro, again, euro had a great week last week, but kind of flat right now. I don't see anything in here that is screaming to me that was great. About the biggest mover today, obviously, was a retrace on the euro yen. That was a great setup, and again, it looked just like the pound or the dollar yen, right? No difference between those two, but there is a couple telltale signs. So hopefully, people were able to take advantage of those. Again, the lower highs put in, the red, green, reds. The flips, definitely some nice move in that one. It was like over 100 pips in the retrace today on the euro yen, but we'll get that into the charts. All right, so that's scanner wise. Let's just run right in the charts. That's pretty easy. He had his computer upside down. Trick from James. It could be. The other thing, my voice is going a little bit. So I don't know if I told you this before or not. So I've been last week or whatever, I was pressure washing the deck. So I have an older house. I can't say older. It's 1999 is built in, right? And I'm like the third owner, but I've lived here more than anybody else. It was like the guy who built it, my old neighbor, then my parents, and then when my father passed away, I bought it for my mom. So I'm like, I guess technically I'm the fourth owner, but no one else has lived here longer than 2 years before me. I've been here 10. So I've never done the deck before. I've pressure washed it, but it's the original deck. It's an old deck. So last week was pressure washing every day. Your hands are numb from pressure washing that much because it's quite a big deck. Today I started the painting process. Oh, yeah. So I've been in paint fumes for the last, 3 hours. So it's my voice is going from it. Let me tell you, painting a deck is not the most fun thing in the world. The guys that do this on a regular basis, more props to them. I have a friend that's a house painter, and he does a lot of decks. Whew, I don't know how he does it. Railing on the deck is driving me insane, but it looks good so far, so I'm happy with it. But yeah, so my voice cuts in and out, guys. I'm not hitting puberty, I promise. It's just I've been sucking paint fumes for a couple hours. Oh, it's a huge amount of work, yeah. Well, the only thing, Sean, that I'm really excited about, and my wife goes, well, how long does this last? You have to do this every year? And I was like, God, I hope not. I looked on there. It's good for 10 years. I was like, oh yeah, I won't have to touch it for 10 more. Now I live under all trees, so we typically get like, get like algae or like moss and stuff growing on it. So I'll have to do that, I'm sure. But yeah, it looks good. It looks good. I'm happy. All right, so as I mentioned, Aussie is all the way up in that, kind of upper, kind of extreme range of the curve up here, right? So you guys can see we're all the way up top, right? I mean, we're still, kind of in a confirmed uptrend, and everything is saying up, right? Up, 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 up. But we are approaching an area where prices hit kind of previously, and again, we're seeing a little bit of a pullback now. So we can't really tell much from the hourly. Besides that, we know we just literally banked off of this daily, right? On the 4 hour as well, you can see if I click the overlay button, you can see that we kind of have a piece. You can see it right up there, and again, it shows us that we're in an uptrend setup on the 4 hour and the daily. And the reason why is because again, we're pulling up, and again, we have a bit of a red pullback right now on the daily, and we see that. I mean, that's very very clear, right? But uptrend setup doesn't mean much to me when we're sitting in the zone. So kind of one of those things. It's are we in a time where we're going to get a reversal, right? So let's bring this back down again. Right now, and again, still the uptrend setup, but it doesn't change the fact that we are not really looking to go long at this point, right? Not at least anything higher to where we are now. So looking at the candle formation, I don't really even like anything that we see over here. It's not a failure to go higher yet. It did actually go higher and is now pulling back. It looks like it's looking for orders, and it does look like it will come back down to this lower level here. This level's been hit before. It went pretty deep into this level, and if you look to the left from that level, you can see that that's not where the original level was formed from. Um, you know, that's kind of where the level was formed from. So, I mean, we hit here, we bounce, we hit again, then we hit again. So, if anything, I'd say that I'd probably be more looking for a push to the downside. But when you look at that, again, you got to be wary that, hey, listen, there's something sitting right there as well where we had a base and a pop and we haven't touched that zone. So this one's going to be a little bit harder for one to turn around and chunk. We had this kind of breakthrough here that we were looking at because we had a nice little pop. That's still quite a bit of ways. I mean, we're farther away now. We're about 140 pips away. The daily ATR on this one is about 90, so it's about 2 days away if we continue to push to the downside. This one is probably, I mean, this drop right here would probably be later in the week. I mean, this could be even like, this could be a potential kind of FOMC kind of situation, like Wednesday afternoon, maybe even Thursday. Let me see, what do we have? Yeah, I mean, this may even be a breakthrough of the Thursday morning news. So, it's far enough away. There's not really anything great. The top of this, I don't really like how this wick is formed. It's just not, it's just not my favorite in that situation. So, right now, I got nothing on this one. Even on the 30-minute, you can see the levels formed are not really even great. It's not a very, very clean level. It's quite large. It's about 21 pips even on the 30-minute. It's a bit high. I mean, I like these little ones like this. This was nice right here. That's about 15, 16. Much cleaner candle. I like the small body versus the big body wicks top and bottom. It's not my favorite. All right. Looking at the Euro yen, I'm sorry, Aussie yen. You can see Aussie yen is also flipping. Now, this one has been flipping for about 2 days, and there was a zone in here. The indicator did not mark it, and I guess it really starts back in here. But if we had to draw it, we'd be looking at that zone right in here. And again, we went slightly above it, okay? So as far as dropping down to lower time frames, this one has spent a bit more time here, right? As you can see, we've had a bit more of a basing. So even on the lower time frames, you can see kind of what we've been bouncing up against, right? So originally you could have said, okay, wait, there's a failure to go higher here, right? And it did actually go higher, so which kind of removed it, right? But that would have been the first setup, and then we could have taken this one right here. This would have been the next entry, and this actually was quite a good little entry here. Yeah, this was about a 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning trade setup. I didn't catch this one. This is one that I was kind of looking at. This one hit last night around chart school time, so right around 9 p.m. is where this kind of high put in this little base below it. So you guys definitely could have grabbed it. I did not. But again, this was a nice little one of the options that you guys could have taken today. And when you set it correctly, right there, you guys can see we just in the last, well, I guess you would have hit your 1 to 3 back here, although you still had to clear the spread. You should have been fine on that one. But if not, you would have just easily. I'm going to set it right off of there. You would have been fine either way. I think that's good. Yeah, you should have been good either way. But yeah, that was one early in the morning. And again, it's just continuing to push down. This is probably a pretty nice little level in here, depending on what time it hits, even based off the news. I like how this burst off of it. I'm not sure I'd be willing to take it long. Well, you know what? Maybe. Maybe. Let me see here. We got about 27 pips to go on that one. That's actually not that bad. If it continues to push down, this could be an interesting trade setup. Just because, again, we've seen so much pressure today coming in from the yen. It will retrace a bit. This wouldn't be necessarily a horrible position to retrace from. It does have, like I said, 28 more pips to go, so that's kind of just a, decent amount. It's at least another hour or two. And you can see the 1 to 3 was right basically where the last time sellers kind of stepped into the market. So it's a potential. That may not be horrible. Let me mark this. All right. That one may not be bad. We'll see if we can get down that far. Again, what I would do is I'd be looking to take a confirmation trade coming out of this one. That being your level of risk. And something along these lines. Like I said, this all is dependent upon how it reacts when it hits that zone, right? We got to see it's some type of a confirmation, and we could probably shrink that a little bit. Can't even shrink it. We're still probably right there. About 30 pips worth of risk. Let me see. And it's a spike. Yeah, that'd be interesting. I want to see how it enters that zone. That'd be the best thing. No, there is no lower zone. Look, it's this spike down, spike up. It's tested, right? It is tested. So again, we definitely know it's an area where there are buyers, but just by the way even down on a 15-minute, you're talking about a pretty big spike. You're talking about 33 pips. So try to go back and yeah, look, even here, it's a spike down and a spike back up a base, and then boom, tested it off the top of it. So yeah, kind of a weird level. But again, nice pop, nice reaction. I mean, 2 candles straight up. You're talking about 91 pips off that area. So, not a bad little area. Now, again, if it turns around and comes up this way and goes back, obviously trades off. Yeah, I mean, I went from 1 hour, 30 minutes, 15, all the way down to 5, and it's the same candle, same zones. Because it's a spike down, spike back up with news. Yeah, a little bit of a difficult time. It may, in all honesty, this may be one to play binary-wise. It's that's around what 75.18. It's not even remotely close to a call spread. Well, I guess 75, 74. There's a call spread down at 74.75, which is down here, which is a little bit far. That would be more for this zone, right? So right here, that zone, there's a call spread that comes in right there. Call spread. That may be the better option when it comes down, because when it goes down, if it breaks that call spread, obviously that call spread still exists. If it is able to touch the zone, but that's pretty far. It's not a week. About 88. Yeah, it's not gonna. That would be a way to set this up. If you have a zone, if you have 2 zones like this and you have a call spread sitting in the middle, wait for the lower one to hit and touch. Once it touches that lower one, this will be out of the money. That means it'll be at a rate, and that also gives us the lowest amount of entry in, and we don't need as much movement. So that'd be one way to play it, but yeah, this may be a binary. Again, part of the problem is a binary typically is going to give a lot of movement, and with no news tomorrow, may not get it. So again, it's whether big risk or nothing. Wait for confirmation on that one. Euro yen. So euro yen, you guys are able to see the complete retracement of this down, right? Again, on the daily, you guys can see we were pretty high on the curve, right? pretty high. We were not at the peak, right? We were sitting right here around the gap. You know, I had this marked off before, but there's this level right here. You can see that's exactly what we went off of last week. I'd mentioned this, I think, last Thursday. You guys can see it is hit pretty much everything at this point. The 1 to 5 actually just got hit today. So again, off of a daily zone, it's no different than any other setup that we do when we have a gap situation. This was a gap, came up and retested the bottom of the gap, bounced right off of it, shot to the downside. Again, this is a pretty big move over 2 days, 130 pips. Lower time frame, kind of the same idea, right? On the 4 hour, you guys are able to see that this one was capping, you know, late last week. And again, we're starting to put high, lower high, lower high, lower high. You could kind of form a base on this one, and a couple of different ways to trade this one. You know, you're able to do that this way and basically say, okay, listen, when we get a break below this zone here, you know, you can put a position, you know, in that range if you wanted to. There. Okay, there's your failure to go higher. And again, it kind of rode the bottom and kind of pulled away. Many of you would have gotten in on this green candle. It's yellow right now. Candle sitting right here, right? That little green candle. The reason why is because, again, it finally cleared that zone, came back up, retested, and then pushed to the downside. So this was a yen play. There's many different ways you could have played this one. This one just happened to coincide, and this was a pretty easy one either way, but it was worth about 214 pips. In this case, had you waited for the confirmation, was worth about 175 pips. So quite a lot of movement, very, very fast. You know, this is why you're, you know, catch one of these a day. This is your one and done. You know, not that hard, right? So where we are now, again, dropping the lower time frames, you can see a lot of different things going on with this one. Again, a lot of issues in this area. Again, we're getting a little bit of a pullback. It kind of pulled back an wick over wick. Definitely got to focus on this green level here. This is definitely a target area that need to be careful of. Okay, it did take a pop out of it. It's not the original kind of takeoff point. That point was back over here. You're able to see that level from here to here, right? It's kind of what this was bouncing off of. So you got to respect this, that buyers are going to step in. So any shorts, make sure you're collecting profit. Now, below that level, you can see that we have a bit of a run here, a little bit of a base, and then a bit of a run back down to this basing level. So there are potential targets sitting down in this level. Okay, so this is kind of a secondary profit target for the shorts. So again, big area here. It was basing, popped, retested, popped again, hasn't made it back down. So you definitely need to respect this. This level of respect is coming in around 121.50. That second level for the that don't have it up on charts right now would be 119, 120ish. That's basically at 120. 20 is right there, which is again kind of right at the level behind right there. So 121.50 and 120 are targets for shorts, and I think this will kind of get back in there. I don't see any strength in the European Union with no news this week to provide good data. I think this will. Whoa, what's up, Sir Loft? What's up, buddy? So yeah, that's what we got going on with this one. Pound yen obviously hammered, same setup, right? Same thing. You guys can see that this one kind of had an interesting turn. It was turning here. It went just above. Even on the 4 hour, right? Even on the 4 hour, you guys can see that it was kind of in this range right here. It did. Hey, you were out. So kind of a weird little turn, right? But kind of the similar situation, right? Into last week, taking this, here's that failure to go higher, right? Kind of the same entry, and you can see it pushed all the way back down again. So. Is what it is. I think it's going to go a bit lower. Areas that I watch out for in this one, first and foremost, again, we had a nice little pop off of that. So, if you are still short, I would definitely put a target in approximately 136 range. Again, nice pop off that level. But besides that, I mean, there's not really, there's nothing really below that stopping. So, if you're short this position already, and again, we have pushed through this basing level, so that's why I'm saying 136.41 is probably a decent target for this one, at least on the 4 hour. But I'm starting to look and kind of this range in here as far as looking for potential targets. Even looking on the 4 hour, you can see it's basically 3 candles straight up. It's about 160 pips in a spike. And again, nice impulse, nice correction into a wick over wick, and then boom, it exploded out of it. So for me, any type of short position as well. Again, we're looking at 140, 134.50. I don't know if I'm going to get to 134.50, but you guys get it. Those are my 2 profit targets to the downside. I do think this will have continued yen strength. And again, pound weakness, whether it be Brexit or just that their economy is bad. I just don't see anything necessarily rosy or positive as far as the pound goes right now. Again, it was just rolling last week, right? I mean, just straight up. Again, moving this fast, we expect to see a bit of a retrace. So that's what we're looking for right now, and a continued push. Now, pound dollar. Okay, now pound dollar, a little bit different. Again, this is on the daily. You can see it didn't have as explosive of a move last week, but it was nothing basically. I mean, we're almost into what, 2 weeks now of green candles. So I can continue to see this one moving just a little bit farther. Hold on, let me put the bird back. This one's set up a little bit differently, right? So if you guys can't see it, here is that wick over wick, right? We didn't get to it, but we were pretty close, right? On a 4-hour basis, you can see, again, this one did not have the same type of pullback, right? Did not have the same pullback that the yen-based pairs did. All the yen-based pairs were exactly the same, so it didn't really matter which one you took. So this is continuing to grind. So looking to the left, okay, oops. Looking to the left, you can see that we have a little bit of an area of basing right here, right? So we had this little kind of hiccup. Okay, there's a little bit of a base right here. You can say, okay, right here. You know what? Let me change this off of profit target. Okay, so we got a line here and a line there. A little bit of a hiccup, right? Going across, that's probably where I'd be looking for shorts. Now, interestingly enough, we do have a knockout bracket right at the upper side of that, at the 128.66 range. There's 2 knockouts that will get broken until that time. What I would probably do is I'd probably wait till that pushed a little bit higher and then go for that upper knockout. Okay, gives us a little bit of a breathing room, just just a tad. Again, I'm still in the 4-hour. We can drop back down to an hourly. Let's see, find this at all. So you guys can see it right here a little bit better, right? That there is out right here. All right, so the 28,660. All right, so it's knockout number 1 for that one, which would be the one that we're looking for. So if price breaks through here, about 128.09, the upper end of that range is up 28.53. So again, a little bit bigger of a zone. I'd probably wait till we get to the upper reaches of it. Let's see, all maybe on the 30-minute. Maybe we can shrink it a little bit. 24 is much better. All right, so we're going to adjust that one just a little bit. We're going to adjust that one to here. Okay, so your zone is from 27 to 53. I would wait to the upper reaches of that zone. You could wait for a confirmation, but look for that knockout. Up closer, the closer the better to it. But wait for the confirmation. Being just a little bit on the other side, it will protect us from getting knocked out, but it will add just a little tiny bit more risk into it. But that's probably not a bad one to take to the downside. Okay, now depending on when we get to that zone, it may take a day, it may take 2. There could be an interesting opportunity. If it is unable to reach that news or that area tomorrow, we do have FOMC news on Wednesday. So what we can do is we can kind of shift our thinking going from a knockout into a binary realm if we're able to wait till Wednesday. And again, we'll see this tomorrow night, whether or not it's hit it tomorrow or not. But there is a potential binary trade in here. FOMC mentioning something about, strengthening the dollar or halting the fall in the dollar. That could really kind of set this thing off, right? Because again, it's been pretty dollar negative for a while now. They may something, to talk about that. Because again, I mean, I guess the economy is crashing, but the stock market is just, control. So that's typically what. All right. All right. So that's the pound dollar. Looking across at euro pound. Euro pound, on the 30-minute, it had some movement, but for the most part, it was flat since yesterday. You know, let's see where we are right now on this one. Euro pound is down 16 pips in the last 24 hours from where we were. So, I mean, here's the daily, right? You guys can see it. It's pulling back. It's stuck in kind of a consolidation area, kind of in this range, right? Again, this is the daily. So we keep bouncing back and forth. The problem with taking anything short right now is, I don't know if you guys can see this right here. See this little basing level right here? Okay, that's kind of what I'm looking at right now, right? We could go a bit lower, but it's an area where last time we were there, the buyers really stepped in and continuing to push this higher. So it's one of those things on a daily. It's like, be a bit cautious about that one, right? On the 4 hour, you can see it wasn't as explosive, right? You would have to shrink this down and kind of really put it back into this range. I mean, really, you should mark tips, but for the most part, most of it's going to kick in where that dark line is. So, kind of my thinking on that one. I'd really like it to start reversing off one of these zones. I don't know if that's going to be enough to stop it. It may go a bit lower to where this wick is. It may actually drop a little bit farther here. I don't think we'll get down to this level in this push. But I would actually like to take this, find an area where we can get long this position. I don't know. Like I said, I think Brexit is going to be a big one on this one. This one's going to do nothing, be really, really slow, and then it's just going to go crazy and spike. I'd like to get a little bit closer on an hourly basis. You guys can see really nothing super clean, nothing super strong. I mean, there's a level marked off here. There's a red, green, red to the downside. It did flip, didn't give us the best zone. This little peak right here, not really the best because this red candle is the highest of those four. Don't really love that. There's a bit of a gap over here, but it spent all this time grinding into it. So not a whole lot super clean in this pair. Again, could you take this one? Sure, but this was the original bounce level. This is probably the cleanest level from the downside, and we got quite a bit of room to run to that. 100 pips, and this one only has a daily ATR of 65. So, and we got some room to run. I do like that level, though. I do think this level here would be I do think that this level right here is a great level. Okay, 87.75 when we get there. So you guys can mark that off on your radar if you want for later in the week. But I really like the pop off of that zone. Whoops. Here's the pop. Okay, we're stabilizing, pop, pulled back into the same stabilization area, and then boom, 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 right out of that zone. So I do think this is an area where buyers will step back in again. Okay, that's the cleanest thing I got for euro pound. Euro dollar. All right, so here's the daily candle on the euro dollar. You can see that we're kind of, it looks very similar where it's pushing back and forth. Kind of the same. Oh, that's euro pound. Hold on. There's the euro dollar. Okay, euro dollar is much more sideways. It's 3 pips in 24 hours. Interesting kind of piece on this one. It had an interesting top, and then it just gotten stuck, right? You guys can see this. It's stuck about halfway through the retrace. I am bearish this position, or I'm bearish this pair. Here's the daily. You can kind of see what we're going off of. It's kind of a couple days ahead of what we see in the pound pairs. Like all the pound pairs are like straight up and just starting to hit those zones. The euro's already kind of hit and is already kind of turned and flipped. So I am bearish, but as far as kind of adding new positions or finding new entries on this one, not a lot in there, right? Because again, there's been so much sideways movement. I don't mind. This is okay. I don't love it because the red is the highest here. The top obviously would make a lot of sense, right? I mean, that's exactly where it ran into the daily zone. The levels to the downside, I don't love this because again, big extended range pullback. Again, the wicks are great. They're telling us there's some buyers here. Again, there's this little area that's a bounce off of this one, and then a bunch of again, there's a lot of green area. So it's gonna have to chunk through this. But right now it's just not trending, right? It's giving us the uptrend setup on the 4 hour, but this is what we're dealing with. Is there really a trend when it's nothing but sideways movement? Not really. But I really like this. I like the fact that there's all this area here, and we're not on the 4 hour getting anything, somewhat clean to here, and even then it's a double wick. Actually, probably more. That's probably more what it's looking for. So for me, it's more of a kind of the profit target down in this level. 111.99 or 112. 112. Got it. Got it. So yeah, so that's, I'd be short that position again. You can play this, hourly. You can do a couple different ways, but again, nothing. All right, so dollar CAD is down about 50. So again, kind of had a productive day on this one. But it was just grindy, you know. Um, you know, there hasn't been many pullbacks that are in, as you guys can see today. Not as many. It missed the pullback here. There was this move here. Here's kind of the, here's the 30-minute, right? Going back. Here's where we are right now. You take 24 hours ago, last night we were sitting right here in this zone. Okay. So it went into the gap. It went to this higher level of the gap. Again, this one really, it opened 8 pips lower. So you tend to like something a little bit more. It went up and grabbed the, obviously where the supply zone was and is pushed away. So, looking on some of the larger time frames, especially the 4-hour, you're starting to see lines come in, right? And then on the daily, you can see this zone is really what we're running into. On the daily, there's nothing really super clean until you get back down to 132, right? So we got a bit of a ways to go on that one. On the 4-hour, you can see we are starting to approach the zone here. Let's look at the zone real fast. Yeah, I mean, it's okay. It's been tested a few times. Went pretty deep here, went pretty deep here, and then again, another little one, then another little one. This is a gap one. So, I mean, daily-wise, I think that's where we really need to start worrying. I mean, it will have a little bit of a hiccup, this rally-base rally, right here as well. Probably in this. So that's where I'd be looking to get longs. Start looking when we hit the 32.90-ish range, for a potential bounce back again. All right. Right now, it just, you're in a continued short with not even really great pullbacks. I wouldn't say really great or strong. Looking at dollar yen. So dollar yen, obviously big day today. There's your retrace. Quite large. And again, large pop up, and what is it doing? It's just retracing back down. So this is one that was set up from last week. There was a bit of an entry here. You could have snagged this one. That was late last week as well. This is what we had more or less today. It just was a continued downside. This is what we're looking at right now. Here's where we are right now. And then back from where we were last night, we were right here. Right in this range. And you can see, again, here, this pop was the it took a while for it to happen, and then just continue. Again, this one, if you're short, kind of the same setup as the other two. I think it was a much better setup in the Aussie yen and the pound yen. This one obviously had a lot of movement. It was down 135 today. You're talking about 156 from right now, from where kind of that last kind of supply zone is drawn. I think the easiest to grab was the euro yen, because again, it was going off daily zones. This one is not necessarily going off a daily. Euro is up here, pound was right here, and then the dollar yen was right here. So, of the three, this is my least favorite of them. But just make sure you guys are out on any of your shorts between. As far as looking for kind of a re-entry to kind of, or continue push to the downside, there was this little kind of basing level here, but you would not have gotten entered on it. It was close. It was close. You guys can see here. It was pretty close, but, far enough away where, you can't be like, yep, definitely got into that one. No, I mean, it's just not there. And then, again, this kind of reversal happened at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So no real big telltale signs. Nothing that you should have been, beating yourself up saying, oh, I should have gotten in this trade. Should have gotten in this trade. There wasn't. It was, kind of a strange kind of. Yeah. I'd wait till it comes back down. Once we get in the 107.75, then we can start looking for some. And again, nice movement. Back. She's like, I was free today. I tasted freedom, and I never. Is the market going to print? I don't know that the market's going to do much tomorrow. So I don't know if you were here in the very, very beginning. There is literally no news tomorrow whatsoever. Even on a lower, I mean, like, we have wholesale inventories and Jolt's jobs opening tomorrow, neither of which anybody cares about. There's the IBD tip economic optimism tomorrow. Maybe. And then at 1 o'clock, the 10-year bond auction. So there is literally nothing tomorrow that can drive this. So the only thing that we have to drive the markets tomorrow is a tweet. Hey, there's a tweet that could drive the markets. There is some type of media kind of spin on something tomorrow that could move it. But for the most part, there's no true real economic news. There's no speeches, nothing planned tomorrow. So I don't know if it's going to be a big mover or not. I feel like tomorrow is going to be dead because FOMC is on Wednesday. And FOMC, it's FOMC's economic projections. Typically, we just get a Fed funds rate and a statement. We don't get economic projections too often. So I feel like tomorrow will be a bit slower more than anything else. Okay, Wednesday morning would be big. We have CPI and Corp, but economic projections is basically where the central bank is going to say, okay, this is what we feel like is going to happen in the next 6 months to a year to 5 years, based off of stimulus they're doing, where they see the economy, what the recovery looks like. So it could be a pretty violent kind of move. Now, again, it's one of those things that the market can't really predict what they're going to say, because it's not like we can take something else and say, okay, well, it should be that. We don't know. And central bank kind of has a weird way of looking at things. So I feel that tomorrow is not going to be as big of a mover as. All right, looking at dollar Swiss. So dollar Swiss, for the most part, we are down about 46 pips. All of it came from this time frame right here, from basically 7:30 to about 10, and that was it. All this was a retrace of what we saw here from last week. Okay, whenever we see such a large extended range candle, and again, you guys know what was 6.5, right? What happened at 6.5 at 8 o'clock in the morning? Okay. Boom, 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 boom. All this. That was an emotional response because the market got it wrong. There's the emotional response. There's a retest. There was the top. Came back down again. Came back up. Touched it right here. Here was your... And I'm sure one of you guys traded this today. Positive one of you guys traded this today. This one would have hit again super early in the morning at 3:30, and then again at 7 o'clock this morning, and you can see it just rallied all the way back down. Almost came all the way past, but again, the profit target would have been basically where price is right now. That would have been a little bit, probably been a 1 to 6, 1 to 7, about a 1 to 7 on that one to the downside. Again, based off of that kind of failure to go higher situation. All right. It's just flat since that time. Again, all that movement happened in 3 hours, and it's done really nothing since. I don't see this, again, unless there's a new riot or a new protest or new something or new kind of barbs sent between the U.S. and China. I don't see this one being a big mover tomorrow either. I do feel it will move most likely depending on what the economic projections are going to be. I don't know if anybody else that has birds out there. They love this. Here. Funny, they like the small things to like play with. They don't like the baby's toys, but they like paper clips and weird stuff. Pens, they love pens. They like carry pens around on their mouths. So I don't see this one being a big mover. So jumping across to the fun ones today. So here is the NQ. Okay, so NQ, it breached the high and it's continued to push. And again, we had a little bit of basing at that level and we've pushed higher. So as I mentioned, and and bringing it up inside of the weekly report, when we get in situations like this, you can basically, we're looking for, true kind of pushes where it failed to move anywhere, right? So at this point, it is still continuing to push higher. There's obviously no supply zones above it. There are ways for us to get long this position. Again, there's a bit of a pullback with a wick over wick here. But for the most part in this one, oh, the baby's jacked. I'm like, is she screaming? She's running through the hallway. If you guys hear a child, it's because my wife, I crack when I'm doing chart schools. You guys can see here was the level of kind of basing in this one, right where it bounced off of. So that was about the only entry that you guys could have gotten in this one. And again, this is a 30-minute that happened around 10 o'clock this morning. Again, that typical 10-10-30 reversal as it pushed down into an area where we had a big rally, a base, ascending candles, pop right back out of it again. And again, there was your entry in NQ. I know a couple of you guys got this one today. Ernest, I think you got an NQ. Sean, I know you got an NQ out of this one today. Actually, Ernest, I think you missed the entry on your NQ. Sean, I know that you ended up hitting this one. That was about the only trade. Again, your profit targets would have been, sitting right there. Okay, right about where the high was. So again, it was like kind of like, oh, if we can break a new high in session, bam, you're out. And that would have been your profit target. So this one actually, oh, you know why these don't match? Yeah, so the indices aren't going to match up as far as touch brackets go. I should probably just remove them because the ECN data is a bit off. But yeah, that zone's probably good for one more tomorrow if we can push down in the overnight and we're there first thing in the morning. That could be another 10:30, 10 o'clock reversal. That's going to be approximately down at 97, probably 65, 67, somewhere in that range is where you'd be looking for kind of a continued. And again, drop down to your 30-minute, look for this level of basing after the pop. Again, you'll see the ascending candles in that one, the ascending wicks. Bounce sideways, pop across, and you'll see this was that may be worth something tomorrow as well. In the overnight, interestingly enough, let me delete this. In the overnight, I don't know if you guys see this or not. And again, this is probably just somewhat of a retrace of what we see, from today. We put them along these lines. Again, failure to go higher. Didn't really leave the zone really clean though. Could be something along those lines. So it looks like it wants to be short in the overnight. Again, pull back. Again, that wouldn't be bad. Short in the overnight, go back down to that zone, hit that zone at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. There's no news to kind of mess it up, and then take that. You got short and long in the NQ. Yeah, I mean, there was early shorts, but for the most, I mean, again, I'd be short now, but I think the trade today was, I mean, again, there was a small one here too. I guess you could have hit that one at about 5 o'clock this morning. Little one over here at 8, 9:30, something along those lines. But the cleanest was definitely the long on the 30. But if you got long and short, you made money both ways. Good job. S&P. So this was the S&P trade that I had set up from last night. Again, this was going into the gap. It continued to push away from the gap. Wasn't a bad little trade. It hit. It kind of bounced off the profit target twice and continued to push higher. It definitely not all-time highs, right? Definitely not all-time highs. We're sitting over in here. We still got a room to run. We're kind of in that wick over wick right now. A little bit of a gap. So we got a bunch of stuff, kind of popping up on us. But that's what I had. Easy little level, right? I mean, easy little level in here, guys. I don't know how many of you guys got this one. So looking at it now, this one kind of has the same setup in the overnight. Right? Although this one I'd be a bit more cautious because we had this zone. It looks like it wants to go down, but it's bouncing off that right now. Things I'm looking for in this one, again, there's this gigantic kind of move up right here. I think this is an area that we definitely should kind of keep our eyes on. Again, price has gone off of it. It did go off of it at the right level. There are wicks in here. There's definitely buyers sitting there. But I think overall, price isn't going to matter as much, but it's going to be like, I think 133.35, if this continues to turn around, or, again, if FOMC is bad, I believe this is where price is going to push back down, stabilizes. Way to play this one, that was definitely in the morning. Besides the Sunday gap, the only time I'm looking at this one is like between 9:30 and 10:30, just to see what we've pushed into and then look for a reversal. I don't really like anything 4-hour wise. No, I don't really, there's nothing really. Nothing 4-hour wise is like, staring at me and be like, yep. Yeah, I don't. This one's okay. I would actually draw it lower than that. I would actually be focused on, again, the ascending candles in that one. I really like. I would hook off on that one. That'd be the first place I'd be looking for. Yeah. Yeah. I'd be short in the overnight. Very similar to the NQ. Dow. All right. So Dow, as you can see, has still got a room to run. It is getting close to, and I'll mark this one off, but it's not. There's this little area sitting right above. So this one has a little bit more room to run. Now this has the steepest of the three curves, the most consistent, the more extended range bodies. And I mentioned that last week that the Dow, as industry starts to pick up, that you will see the most movement in this one. On the 4-hour, kind of the same idea. I mean, this one had a decent basing level. There's a little bit of a wick over wick here and a little bit of a pop, but none of them really. I mean, we have a bit of a zone here. And I'm putting this in orange. This is kind of like a warning. Don't know that I'm going to take it short off of that, but I'd like to see when we hit that zone. So NQ and S&P both look like they are continuing to push down in the overnight. Okay, this pair hasn't shown us that yet. It is still continuing to push up a little bit higher. It's got a little bit more room to run to that zone, but there could be an interesting short off of this level. Okay, particularly if we hit this level tomorrow morning. Now, obviously in the middle of the night, this is on the 4-hour. It's most likely going to kind of go sideways now that the markets are over, but it does have some room to run still before we get to that zone. In the overnight, we could take over that, that real estate. This would be an interesting level, and again, I drew off a 4-hour, so it is going to be quite wide. Yeah, I can shrink it a little bit. Yeah, so there's a level for tomorrow. Okay, and we'll see what it does. This is the hourly, so it's going to need to take a nice little bounce up. But this could also be an FOMC type position. Again, it's far enough away. If it just continues to grind slow, tomorrow's green. We go into the overnight tomorrow night, and then boom, we come morning. That'd be a binary short for looking for that thing to go to the downside. I would not use a knockout on this one just because FOMC could cause this thing to go up or down, kind of bounce a little bit. We'll see. Okay, so I'm not as bearish this one as I am the other two. Now, looking at gold. Okay, so gold is kind of doing the opposite of what we saw in pair. Here's where we are right now. Okay, here's where we were last night. Right here. And here was the unemployment data. Okay. Whenever you see a gigantic spike, we typically like to see a retrace, and that's what it did. It retraced all the way back up again today. Again, bullish, not surprised. This one will definitely move on Wednesday. Question is, what levels is it going to be close to on Wednesday? So it's already done its retrace. It's taken again, it was a grindy retrace back up. I actually don't mind this level. I think this level here is actually not horrible. This 1708. If you look at it across, yes, it spent a bunch of time there. It pushed away. It came back up, and one candle immediately smacked that candle down again. It based and then just dropped away. So it's not a bad region. It'd be sitting kind of in that range, right? Which is right, again, right where that price tag was, right around the 107 or 1708. Check this real quick. Indicative right now, yeah, the indicative is a little bit off. Right now, the indicative is 1704. I'm at. Rectangle. Slightly different on the there pops a little bit higher on this. I probably like that. I think on this one I like that. I'm trying to keep consistent between the two. So it's coming in at about 1712 is 1712 is it's basically the tested zone for sure. Okay, so now I know that. Let's go across. Best one we have is a 17. That's actually not horrible. So you have a so we know that this is coming at 1712 to 1716, and you can see there is a contract right here, a 1717. So this could be one if we set up for FOMC as well. We could kind of put ourselves right in that range. Right now, FOMC, if they are mentioning stimulus or anything else, again, that would most likely be a gold positive thing. But you never know. They may mention the fact that they don't need any stimulus, that the economy is picking up fine, which would kind of also kind of dwindle and say, oh, okay, I guess there's, if they make a comment about how there's no inflation, we're seeing no inflationary at all, then again, that is bad for gold. So that could be an interesting play right there. The 1717 knockout number 3, again, for tomorrow or for FMC. We'll kind of see what happens tomorrow, but it's got a bit, it's got about $17 to run on that. Now silver, okay, silver. So we've had this zone, this blue zone marked off again. Silver just bounced off of it again. It's been a zone again. Here's the big push to the downside was the unemployment data from Friday. All it did was retrace. It came all the way back up again, right back up to that blue zone that we talked about. It looks like it's setting up short again from that level. Not sure if that's going to hold it again, because here's the original zone and it pushed deep in there again. I'm wondering if that's going to break, and I'm wondering if price will run all the way back down. I'd be interested to see if this thing gets down to the 1734 range. Things I will note again, I'm going to erase the blue now because we've had it up here and we've used this as a kind of a pullback zone so much of this off, and I want to draw this right here. So there's a bit of a gap up here that I think is important to kind of point out. Looking to the left, it's not all the way to the top, but it did put a nice little lever in. Again, it closed, opened, started the spike to the downside. I think this would be a pretty interesting little short. If anybody is in here a silver trader, I know we don't have many silver traders. That one's coming in right around this. Again, this is on the 1 hour chart, right around the 1775 range, 1778 range. So rather small zone, but pretty nice little turnaround. Nice little gap to the downside. And the 1 to 3 is in a great place. The 1 to 5 is probably okay as well if we can get back up to there. We'll see where it turns. That's not a bad little level there. All right, last but not least, let's go into oil. All right, so crude. I will say I really dislike seeing $2 gas again. Gas is officially back up to 205 in Maryland. I'm missing the $1.25 already. Not that gas is super expensive at $2, but yeah. So dropping it down to an hourly, you can see that this is what we're kind of dealing with right now. Very clear turnaround up top. We mentioned this last week. You guys can see that here's the peak. And again, we took a very stereotypical big spike away, came back up, failed to go any higher, and then continued to drop back down again. It did go lower than what its gap area was. It did put a bit of a basing level in. So I think the way to look at this right now is to say, hey, listen, price has been down here multiple times. And again, we could draw it based off of the wicks over here, but price has been here a bunch, okay? The inventory report will be interesting, but I believe the inventory report is going to be overshadowed by FOMC notes on Wednesday. Kind of interesting. And again, there's a zone here. Again, a drop, a sideways movement, and drop, and we've kind of pulled back up. So there's one little level of basing here. But there's also, over in here, again, this is the last time we really saw a big kind of concerted push away. If anything, my opinion is I feel like this is looking more for a topside kind of move. It did have a very decent move off. Okay, again, this is very, very clean, very easy entry to get into. But I feel like there's also not a lot holding it. So if we're able to break through, moment done. This level here, if we can, again, we're stabilizing it right now. That's why I'm saying this. If we can break through, I don't see us stopping from going back up to the $40 mark. Being at where we're at right now, 38.66. It's not that far off. And like I said, there's this level here that buyers have stepped in and saved it down at 37.94-ish range. You look to the left, again, there's a little basing, little pullback. We could probably see it better on like a 30-minute. Yeah, you can see this kind of level of basing right here. And this is kind of originally, this is what it looks like everything went off of, was this level of basing right here. Right there, you see that? Look, boom, 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 boom. So I have to say, I'm looking for this to be more bullish than anything else. I think if we can get up into this range over here at the $40 range by inventory report on Wednesday, I think I'd be pretty interested in taking this one short. Tomorrow, I don't know if we're going to get as much movement, but I think, yeah, it's not bad. In the overnight, if we can come down and we can get to the orange zone, that orange zone kicks in at about 37.90, 5-ish range. I could be tempted to take a position long. Let's see. Wait, where is it? $38. Cause it's price 38.60. God, these are ugly. So here's the problem with this one. That zone starts just below $38. I'm not blind, right, guys? You see 37, 36, 35, 34, right? You guys don't see a 38 here, right? You also see the indicative value with this one at 38.64, right? So it's not just me, right? Yeah. So 37, unfortunately, is all the way down at the bottom of this blue one here. So yeah, none of these knockouts for oil look like they are great. 41's all the way up here. Yeah, I don't like any of these. None of these are gonna work. Oh well. Yep, none of these are gonna work. So yeah. So like I said, we got a little bit of a hiccup here, a little bit of a hiccup here. I'd like this to break through both of these. If we can get up into here by Wednesday, I'd be looking to take short. Right now, nothing really. Had one bump today, and that was it. One bump, and then we flatlined again. So I do like the zone down here at 37.94 down to 37.70. The blue is basically just the retest off of this level here. Pop off of it. It's all right. All right, we'll see. And if we can go down and break, there's another. Yeah, we'll see. Like I said, in the overnight, it's okay. The only way to play this one currently, guys, is playing it in the morning. Using a 30-minute chart, obviously, we're going to have flatness because nothing in this one is trading right now. We need to see what it's looking like in the morning. That would give us a better idea of whether we're going to get long and short. I wouldn't trade this one in the overnight. Bit of a slow one. All right. All right, so that's what we got. A couple setups, not many. Like I said, most of the action today was whether in the indices, and again, there was kind of easy bounces. You know, the S&P was an example. The yen were all basically the same. The Aussie and the pound yen were the best two setups. The dollar yen was moving, but it wasn't the best one to the downside. We have setups looking in the Aussie dollar and the Aussie yen are both extremely high on the curve. We'll see if the yen power can continue to push on that one. Overall, because there's no news tomorrow, I do expect it to be a slower day tomorrow. I don't see crazy movement unless something really just, totally unexpected happens, which it always can. Just be a bit cautious of that. But for the most part, I think it's going to be a slow day. And like I said, there's nothing even remotely, even yellow releases are just not even great. Check other countries real quick. Trade balance, machine tool. So 5 a.m. we have final unemployment change quarter over quarter and revised GDP for Europe. There may be something small with that one, but it's pretty early. It's a 5. It's not like at their open. Corporate profits for CAD at 8:30. Not really. The bond auction is not going to move anything. PPI tomorrow night at 7:50 for the yen, maybe. And then Westpac consumer sentiment at 8:30, so maybe. Honestly, the best release tomorrow. Here, let me pull this across. Honestly, of all these things, the best release tomorrow is this one, the Chinese data, the CPI and the PPI. Honestly, that's the most impactful. Again, this will affect the Aussie and the New Zealand for the most part. That to me, that's the best one up here. That, calmly speaking, it does nothing. These two down here, the Chinese data for CPI and PPI. So yeah, kind of a boring day tomorrow. I hope I'm wrong. I hope something goes crazy in the morning, or somebody says something, or some poll comes out to give us some market movement. But I have a feeling it could be pretty flat again tomorrow. Again, because of this on Wednesday. Okay, all this economic projections, I think, is going to be big. All right, so with that said, let's go ahead and do the contest tonight, guys. Remember, tonight we are back in for Pip Chips, right? We did the sweatshirt last week. Sean, I don't know if I have my email address in there, but I don't know if I got the shipping notification yet or not. Yeah, it was ordered, so it's I don't know, it depends on how long. I got that message about how COVID-19, it takes a little bit longer for things to ship. We'll see, but it is definitely ordered and sent. Um, I don't even know where it is now. I don't know which email I did it to. But yeah, so it's definitely in. Sweatshirt is ordered. It should be out there. Not that we need the sweatshirt right now. All right, so I'll give you guys another basically minute. I'll stop this one at 1:14:30. So I'll give you a little bit extra time to get in there. Ketchup's in. Ernest got in that last spot. Who else we got in here? Sir Loftus is in. The girls are in. Sean is in. Sean's in with 4. So look at this. Sean wins one time, and he's like, that's it. I need to win all the time now. Look at this. He's addicted. He's addicted. He's like, I got pip chips to spend. I can do it. I can do it. It's funny. Oh, you want me to look at Walmart real quick? Sure, Ketchup. I'll pull up Walmart. Let me get Trading View real quick. See what we can get here. Trading View. Let's see. Walmart. All right. Go to the full featured chart. All right. So, couple things that stand out. Again, this is on a daily basis. Again, we saw this one little spike here, but again, came pretty far down, and it's broken a bunch of different levels here of support. Again, there's a bit of a level right now where it's entering, kind of an interesting little, whoops, not that one. This is kind of interesting, right? Okay, so I see a zone right now that it's going in. Last time price was here, it did force it higher. So that's kind of interesting. You're also seeing a same type of, there's a pop right here, right? Another little pop right here, right? Same kind of situation. An impulse, a corrective move, and then a really nice, strong kind of impulse move back up again. It's off by a little bit right there, right? And then you're seeing kind of a gap right here. You know, you're seeing a bit of a gap. So there's a couple different areas below that it looks to me that Walmart would stabilize. On the top side, you can do kind of the same idea and say, hey, listen, you know, here's kind of the same scenario, right? Again, price came over, it pushed back in, it came up, it retested that zone, it gapped down, came back up, gapped up, and then it's pushed back down again. So for me right now, I'm not necessarily surprised it's bouncing off of that level. That kind of makes sense. A couple different areas to the downside. Let me see if we can get something on a lower time frame. I would say this one is more or less consolidating than anything else. I mean, you can see here on a 4-hour what we've bounced off of, and these are pretty legit bounces. I mean, buyers have stepped in here. We've been unable to get back to that same zone again. Channels here. All right, so we refined them down to an hourly level. All right, so it looks like the next time you have buyers stepping into this thing is down at the 118.05 area. We're getting a nice little push now in the after hours, obviously. Areas that I'd be concerned about if you were long this position, okay? Price, obviously, something happened right here, right? Something happened that price was violently forced back to the downside. Now, it did get front run the last time, so anything long, I'd be kind of a little bit cautious with this 122.30 range. It's about, you know, about $1 more than where we are right now. Let me drop it down. And again, it's hard because we have after hours pricing at this point, but like, let's drop down to a 15. Still think you got to worry about that area. I don't think you have any problems getting back up into this the 121.60ish range. I think you're okay there. But I'd be looking to get short again up at 122.34. I think you need to worry about that. Look at the explosive movement off of this one, and it tried, right? Impulse, correction, impulse, correction, impulse, and then bam, slam back down again. So, I think that areas that I'd be really, really concerned about right now, again, you can go to 30-minute. 30 minutes is probably the best one. Worry about 122.34, and I would definitely worry about this lower level here. I mean, like I said, if we start cutting a flip, I don't think you have anything to worry about until we get back down. Right? And again, you guys can see it spiked here and then kind of took off, but same idea. Yeah. Yeah. So near term, that one here. Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you right now, Walmart's in an interesting situation. So, and again, this is just more or less on a fundamental level than anything else. So, obviously, stores and things like that are opening back up. But what you're hearing in the news right now, and particularly in Europe, like I don't know how much you follow things overseas, stores are actually doing worse now that they are reopening as far as like profit and things versus when they were closed or just doing like online. Obviously, their expenses are more. The online component is not going to necessarily change. And remember, stores like Walmart and Target, things like that, they had the advantage that they were allowed to stay open. Okay. They will have more competitors come back online. So again, that's probably why you're seeing kind of somewhat of a rundown now. And again, that's why we saw this big peak up in May, and then we've started to see this kind of push. Now, not that many people are open back then, right? Dropping it back to a daily basis. But you can see that's probably what was leading to a lot of this stuff, right? You're seeing it here, March. It's open. And then here it's kind of like, all right, well, things are getting a little bit better. And then again, boom, we have the spike back up again. But you're seeing things kind of push back down. Okay, you're seeing a pop. So I would say overall, based off the candles here, again, I would be more bearish than anything else. Again, you're seeing a pullback, but that's, again, impulse, correction, impulse. That's pretty normal. The next time I'd be really concerned about staying short would be 117.90 range or this 118 range. And again, that top range is kind of the last time we were basing, and then bam, it was violently pushed back to the downside. So Walmart's going to be one of those things that you're going to hear about it a lot in the news because it's one of the stores that stayed open. Just be cautious with it. That's all. Yep. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things you can do with it. Easy way to play a lot of these stocks is, so easiest way to say it typically with stocks is a lot of your analysis, you can do your end of day analysis. You don't really have much control about what happens in the overnight. And then there's that pre-market time, and that's what you really want to focus on. Any news that happens after hours will typically get affected in the in the beginning, in the open. But I'll tell you right now, if the market for that day feels like it's going to be bearish, it doesn't matter how good things are, it's going to be bearish. It's just to what extent, okay? Easiest way to play this one is, figure out where it has moved in the overnight. Figure out if it's in any type of zones. Is it close to one of these things, okay? Say in the overnight, right? Let me drop this back down to like a 30-minute level, right? So we already know that the last time price was here, it shot to the downside. So maybe in the overnight, it continues to push higher, push higher, push higher. But if we can get price up into this range where we had sellers for the open tomorrow, okay? Markets are great today. Will it continue to be good? Maybe, maybe not. But if we are opening here and the markets take a negative turn tomorrow, that's giving you kind of two kind of negatives saying, yep, that's probably a good idea for me to get short. And then again, I would probably play it in options, not necessarily the stock market. At 121, you don't want to be buying a lot of shares of this one. You want to be trading this over in the options market. Okay. Again, really, I mean, you take Walmart out, but really anything over like, $15, $20, it tends to be safer to do it over in the options market. All right. So hopefully that makes sense. All right, let's go ahead and do the drawing, guys. Where is it? That is right. We'll leave this here. Here we go. Oh, and by the way, okay, I know a lot of you guys have built PCs in the past. Have any of you guys gone down the... So I ended up finding this guy on YouTube. I'll end this in 1 second here. I found this guy on YouTube. So I don't know if you guys have ever seen this. And again, I'm not hawking this, but I found this. It's LED strips that change with what's on your picture. I think this is the coolest thing. It reduces headaches, eye strain. You basically tell it what color you want it to be based off where your screen is. And I'm like so addicted to it now. I'm like, oh my God, this is great. I'm like, honey, we need to get one of these. So this is where I started kind of the down the rabbit's hole thing today. I was so enamored by this thing. And then I found custom keyboards and the kind of rabbit hole that is switches. So I don't know if any of you guys out there have ever built their own keyboard, but I've always bought, like I have a Logitech right now. I like Razer peripherals. I was looking at Corsairs. Then I got in this guide today talking about why you have to make your own keyboard and the different switches that you can get, whether they're green, the browns. Man, it's a rabbit hole. When you go down this, you can't stop. But I'm telling you, half the day today I've been looking at switches, about building my own keyboard. It's crazy. Will, he builds the keyboards? Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty old tech, to be honest. Oh, no, I love that. Yeah, it's great. I've had light strips for my TV. I've never had one on my TV before. But yes, so there's all these different switches. There's cherries, MXs, there's blues, there's silvers. Oh my God, it's an amazing rabbit hole. Yeah, it's so awesome. I was just like, oh my God, because I don't like clicky, but I like the tactile. Oh yeah, I'm so excited because there are keyboards, and I'm like, this one's quiet, but I don't like the keys. But now I know what it means, and I'm like, wait, I can change them. Oh, I'm so addicted now. Yeah, it's gonna cause problems. All right, here we go. Let's draw the winner tonight. Inside mason jars, and I get the same effect. James. All right, tonight's drawing winner is Q with 7.14%. So Q took another one. So Q is just, he's like sneaky. He keeps getting in here and he keeps, taking these things like on the quiet. I know, look at that, man. Sean was like, I'm taking this with 4, and Q was like, I'm doing it the ladies' way. I'm taking it with 1. So let's see. Let's add another 25 pip chips onto Q. Good victory there. Good victory. This. Look, you guys see who's in number... I see Q's in number 4. Do you guys see right here who's number 3? Look at this. Who is sneaking into the third? I don't know if you guys can see it or not. Do you guys see this? Look who is sneaking into number 3. I better not do another sweatshirt drawing. Look at this. Ernest could be in trouble. I'm off at contact kicking it. Look at that sneaking up there. All the girls are sneaking up. All right, so that being said, I'm out of here. I will be on Discord tomorrow morning if you guys need me. Don't forget, tomorrow morning we do have the Nadex presentation. And also, we will see if my voice is holding up. So I have Nadex presentation and we have lacrosse practice tomorrow night. So my voice should be golden tomorrow night. So give me a break if I'm a couple minutes late tomorrow. Trying to choke down some tea. All right? You guys take care, and I will catch you guys later.